here doing an interview.
We are. We are here to get nuggets of insight from Chris DiBona.
Little chunklets.
Just little ones. Can't handle anything more. But first we have to ask about the Chrome comic.
So I should point out, when I heard they were doing a comic, I was like, really? A comic? Are you sure? Like, yeah. I was like, okay. And he made my goatee very smooth, you know.
It's very
sweet.
Yeah.
The internet called it. Yeah, there were a lot of great parodies actually of that Chrome comic.
So how's the feedback's been very positive from Chrome, like
Chrome
from the community?
I think people seem to like it. Yeah, there's been already a couple of really interesting projects that have taken the Chrome code and done different things with it, which I thought was really very positive. There's already a ton of people out there patching, sending patches in to Chrome to fix things. In fact, we think there's more patchers now than there are employees. Of course, they don't have the same kind of output. I mean, we're just talking individual bug fixes, but it's pretty impressive that you know, we're able to work with that many people that fast.
Yeah, so...
I mean, not all patches are appropriate for us to accept, but yeah.
You know, so obviously this was a very, secretive project for a while, and then we kind of like just put it out there. So again, like companies get flack sometimes for like throwing code over the wall.
Sure, sure. So it's funny, we actually have these great internal debates about when it's okay to release open source code. Is it okay to just release it and forget about it? Is it okay to release it and not have a big deal around it? Or should they all be heavy, sort of lots of people working on building a community and all the rest? And I think that the answer is you should do all of those things, right? If you look at most open source projects, 99% of them is one person working on a code base in the public, and they get no help. They get no bug fixes. They barely get any users, right? And then you have a small subset of those. They attract a couple extra developers, a couple extra bug fixers, and thus a community, right? And then you have others that are, frankly, incredibly unusual, like the Linux kernel, like Samba, like Mozilla, which are incredibly large, thousands of developers, thousands of people working on them. And those are not the norm.
What was the choice, like what went into the decision to, hey, we're going to make this browser, why don't we just open up a project on code and then develop in the open for the entire way?
So with Chrome, ask Linus, he can probably answer it best, but there are times when we release projects that are, being developed in-house in a very focused manner, for years, in the case of Chrome and Android both. I think they're both more than 2 years old, those efforts. And so, they want to basically tie performance reviews, tie employees to the product. And that's not something that's incompatible with open source by any measure. But there is a level of, we just want to do this work ourselves for a while going on. We're not really into control. So control takes a lot of work.
Right.
The way I firmly believe the right way to establish control in open source is not through the use of restrictive licensing, and not through any sort of tricks around that. I firmly believe that the way you have control and the way you have leadership in open source is by showing intelligent technical leadership on a project. So long as the Chrome team at Google, makes the right decisions technically for the product, they're going to be in charge of Chrome and Chromium, right? Chromium meaning the open source version of Chrome that Chrome is built from. So, but that said, if people decide that Google isn't giving that leadership, then they will fork and they'll create something else. Probably call it Technetium or something, whatever. Come up with some element to name it after. And the thing is, that's okay. That's a healthy thing. That's something we actually want to encourage as a company. So when we release things like Chrome, we're doing it to make the internet better. We're not doing it to build market share for Google. We're doing it to make the internet a free and fair place. A place that can really exist in a world where people are used to the responsiveness and functionality of desktop applications. So if people take our technology and advance that strategy, great. We're very happy. It's same with Android, It's like, if people don't like Android and they want to change it and make it better for their customers, well, that's good for the idea of a free and fair and open cellular phone operating system and cellular phone marketplace, as you will, which is good for Google, right? So we feel that we can compete quite well in free and fair markets like the internet and like free and open cell phones. So that's why we're releasing this technology. So if somebody says that they can do that even better than we can, that serves us. It does well by us. So we try to encourage it even. But yes, there's some things we've just strategically decided not to release. GFS is one of them. And so what we do instead in those cases is we try to ensure that people are publishing. So for instance, Jeff Dean and Sanjay Gemwat have done papers on GFS, MapReduce, Bigtable. Luis Barroso did a paper on drive lifetimes, and if they're read by technical people, they can come up with these technologies fairly rapidly. And in fact, that's happened in the open source world with Hadoop and with HBase and with some of the other things that we've created. So I'm actually really happy about this. I think it's really important that actually GFS has an open source competitor, because it both keeps us honest, but also if it gets better than what we have, we can just adopt it.
Exactly.
So we don't feel competitive with Hadoop. But yeah, the other side of this is there's some software that if we release, we make the internet worse, right? And that would be like if we released the information of how we do web ranking, page ranking for the web search, then web spammers would get a hold of it, and that would be a very big problem. And not just for Google, but for Yahoo and Microsoft as well. Right now, I firmly believe, and quality numbers bear out, that Google gives the best search on the internet. And part of that has to do with how we look at these people who abuse the internet and change how those results are displayed to end users. So if we were to let that information out, it would make things very, very bad for not just us, but for Yahoo and Microsoft too.